All right, so today we're diving into
Berkshire Hathaway?
Berkshire Hathaway, yeah, and
Howie Buffett.
Howie Buffett taking over for Warren, stepping up as the non-executive chairman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Big shoes to fill.
yeah, it is big shoes to fill. And
Huge company.
yeah, it really is. And you've got some really interesting articles here that kind of dig into all the different angles of this. And it's not just about like the succession and the father-son thing going on. It's about the market and, how will Berkshire itself actually function without Warren at the helm. So let's just jump right in. And why don't we start with Howie himself? Like,
Okay.
everyone knows the Buffett name.
Right.
But what about Howie? Like, what is he bringing to the table besides that legacy?
Well, that's what's so interesting about these articles is that they highlight that, Howie's background is actually really diverse. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, he's got experience in farming, law enforcement. He was even a sheriff for a while.
Wow.
So that's quite different from, your typical Wall Street image.
Totally.
Yeah. But how does that actually translate? I
Sure.
mean, it's one thing to
Yeah.
be a sheriff. It's another thing to lead
Absolutely.
this massive company.
Well, think about Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio, right?
Yeah.
It's vast.
Uh-huh.
So you've got businesses like BNSF Railway, a major freight railroad company.
Yeah, right.
Dairy Queen, a popular fast food chain.
Yeah.
And so Howie's agricultural experience could actually give him a really unique perspective on things like supply chain dynamics, resource management,
Wow.
And those are crucial to understanding these industries.
That's true. Like, you don't necessarily think about that connection at first. But,
Right.
yeah, he's got this kind of on-the-ground experience that maybe a
Just
lot of
right.
these Wall Street guys don't.
And it's not just about the finance. It's about understanding how businesses actually operate.
Yeah.
So imagine, Howie leveraging his understanding of commodity prices to advise on Berkshire's investments in companies like Kraft Heinz or Coca-Cola.
Uh-huh.
He could bring a whole new dimension.
To their decision-making process.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm already starting to rethink, like, my whole image of Howie.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
The listener's probably also thinking, like, okay, that's great.
Right.
But what about the market? Like, how is the market going to react to Warren stepping back? I mean, he is a legend.
Absolutely.
Could this mean a bumpy ride for Berkshire Hathaway for people who are invested in it?
That's a valid concern, and the articles definitely address that.
Okay.
And they actually use examples like General Electric and IBM
Okay.
to illustrate how volatile the market can be during these leadership transitions.
So what kind of volatility are we talking like?
Well, GE saw its stock drop by almost 20% in the year after Jack Welch stepped down.
Wow.
So that translates to billions of dollars in losses. For investors, and IBM experienced a similar dip of about 15%
Oh.
during their leadership change.
So we're not talking like small potatoes here.
No, not at all.
This is a big deal. And
Yeah.
these articles point out that Berkshire Hathaway hasn't actually released like a detailed public succession plan.
Right.
So is that
Wait, that's...
another layer of uncertainty?
It's like it's already kind of shaky, and
Exactly.
then you don't even know.
And uncertainty can breed anxiety in the market.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with a company as, it's
Absolutely.
influential as Berkshire Hathaway.
And without a clear roadmap, speculation can just run wild.
Okay, so we've got this kind of potential market volatility.
Yeah.
And, we talked about Howie and his background, but I think the biggest question that I have, and that I think a lot of people have, is can Berkshire maintain its magic without Warren at the helm? I mean, that investment philosophy,
Right.
that's not an easy thing to replicate.
It's like trying to bake a cake with the same recipe,
Huh.
but without that secret ingredient that makes it truly exceptional.
Uh-huh.
And the articles suggest that we might actually see some shifts in Berkshire's investment strategy.
Potentially influenced by Howie's own risk tolerance and the advice of the board.
So are we talking about a complete overhaul or more like
It's hard to say for sure.
subtle adjustments?
Yeah.
Okay.
But even subtle adjustments could have significant repercussions.
Right.
So imagine, for instance, Berkshire making more aggressive moves into tech investments or private equity.
Whoa. Okay.
That'd be a pretty big departure from Warren's more traditional approach, wouldn't it?
That would be huge, Berkshire venturing into the world of like
Right.
Silicon Valley and
Right. Tech startups.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's not their comfort zone.
And that's why it's so fascinating. We're not just talking about a change at the top. We're talking about a potential evolution of an entire investment philosophy.
Uh-huh.
This transition could redefine what Berkshire Hathaway stands for in the coming years.
Yeah. It's about so much more than just finance at this point.
Mhm.
It's about how a company adapts, evolves, stays relevant while staying true to his core values, which I think is something that everyone listening can relate to no matter what field they're in.
It's a universal challenge navigating that balance between preserving a legacy and embracing the need for change in a constantly evolving world.
For sure. And this potential shift in strategy brings up another question for me, which is, will Howie and Greg Abel, the CEO, will they be aligned in their vision for Berkshire's future? Because it's like, it's like a band with a new lead singer and a seasoned producer. Are they going to clash, or are they going to complement each other?
You hit the nail on the head. The success of this transition really depends on the dynamic between Howie and Greg. And the articles actually draw some really interesting parallels to other leadership transitions, highlighting both successes and failures.
Like what, for example?
Well, the partnership between Alan Mulally as CEO and Bill Ford as chairman at Ford Motor Company is often cited as a textbook example of a successful duo. They had clearly defined roles, open communication, and a shared vision, all essential ingredients for a really productive partnership. On the flip side, the strained relationship between the CEO and chairman at Yahoo in the late 2000s demonstrates the disastrous consequences of misalignment. Their constant disagreements contributed significantly to the company's decline.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it's not just about, like, business strategy. It's about, any partnership. Like,
It's about relationships.
Yeah, can you work together?
Absolutely.
So clear communication, shared goals, that what you're saying is key.
The articles emphasize that a healthy working relationship between Howie and Greg is essential for Berkshire Hathaway to navigate this transition smoothly.
Okay, so we've got Howie's background. We've got potential market reactions. We've got, this challenge of maintaining that investment philosophy, and then the CEO-chairman dynamic. It feels like we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But there's still this, like, kind of mystery around this whole transition.
And what's really intriguing is that the articles also highlight what's missing from the picture.
Okay, now you've got me really curious.
There are a lot of unknowns that could significantly shape the future of Berkshire Hathaway.
Like what?
Well, for starters, we still don't have specifics on Berkshire Hathaway's succession plan.
Right.
So how will responsibilities actually be divided between Howie and Greg? What will Howie's leadership style look like in practice? These are all open questions.
But there's a lot we don't know. But that's what makes this so interesting for the listener, right?
Exactly.
Like, we're watching
lots of real-time case study unfolding before our very eyes.
And it's like we're all, mini Warren Buffetts trying to figure out what's going to happen.
And this is where the deep divers come in. Pay attention to how things unfold, how Berkshire communicates, what decisions are made. It's a fantastic opportunity to watch and learn as history is being made.
Okay, I'm ready to put on my detective hat. Start analyzing clues, but this uncertainty, can feel a little overwhelming.
It can.
Even for people who are, seasoned investors.
Absolutely.
What would you say is, like, the key takeaway?
I think the most important thing is to avoid making any rash decisions based on fear or speculation. Remember, the market often reacts emotionally to these big changes. And that can lead to impulsive moves that might not be in your best interest.
So don't, like, panic sell just because Warren Buffett isn't at the helm anymore.
Exactly.
Okay.
Take a deep breath. Stay informed. Focus on the long-term fundamentals. Berkshire Hathaway has a solid track record. And there's no reason to believe that will change overnight. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Love that analogy. And I want to shift gears for a second because I'm thinking about Howie's journey as a leader. And he's stepping into some pretty big shoes, as we said. And there's going to be a lot of scrutiny and pressure. How do you think he's going to navigate, being in the shadow?
How do you navigate the shadow of a legend, right?
The Oracle of Omaha.
The Oracle of Omaha cast a pretty long shadow.
And it's more than just pressure. It's about
forging his own identity as a leader. How will he balance the weight of that legacy with the need to establish his own authority and his own vision?
That's a challenge that goes way beyond just business.
It extends beyond business. It's like trying to write a sequel to a blockbuster movie. Everyone's going to be comparing it to the original, and expectations will be sky high.
So he's got these big unknowns. We're all watching for clues. We're trying to keep our cool amidst all the market chatter. What else should we be thinking about as this
Well, the article's focused primarily on Howie's role,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the broader impact on Berkshire Hathaway's culture?
You mean that like legendary Buffett-style culture,
Precisely.
the folksy annual meetings, the
Yes.
focus on long-term value?
Just decentralized structure, all that.
All of it.
Okay.
So the question is, will Howie be able to preserve that essence while also adapting to the changing times?
Right, because Berkshire Hathaway is this global conglomerate.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got investments in everything from insurance to railroads to tech companies.
Mhm.
Can that unique, almost folksy culture scale to such a diverse portfolio?
It's a great question.
It's like trying to maintain the charm of a mom and pop shop
Right.
after it's become like a multinational corporation.
Exactly. It's definitely a balancing act, and it's something that will play out over time.
That's why I love these deep dives.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not
Rare.
just getting the headlines, we're digging into the
Getting deeper.
underlying forces that shape the world around us.
And as we wrap up this part of our dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Okay, hit me.
How will Howie's leadership influence the next generation of investors and business leaders?
So we're talking about the ripple effect.
The ripple effect, every leader leaves a mark.
And Howie's influence will extend far beyond Berkshire Hathaway's walls.
Right.
His decisions, his successes, even his failures will be studied, analyzed, and debated for years to come.
So we're all part of this unfolding story, whether we realize it or not.
We are.
That's kind of a mind-blowing thought.
It is, isn't it?
But on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored the unknowns surrounding Howie's leadership,
Mm-hmm.
the potential impact on Berkshire Hathaway's culture,
Yes,
and that broader ripple effect on the world of business and investing.
absolutely.
And we'll be back with part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into all of this.
Sounds good. So in this part, we're going to kind of bring it all together and, give you some takeaways and actionable insights to help you navigate all of this change.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get there,
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about, what you said about Berkshire Hathaway's culture
Mm-hmm.
and how it might evolve under Howie's leadership.
Right.
What are some specific things that
Sure.
could be impacted?
Well, one of the hallmarks of Berkshire Hathaway's culture has been its decentralized structure.
Okay.
So Warren Buffett has always emphasized giving his managers a lot of autonomy to run their businesses as they see fit.
Right. It's like they've got this, incredible roster of all-star players, and Warren's just been the coach who
Exactly.
trusts them to play their game.
That's a great analogy.
Go ahead.
But will Howie maintain that same level of decentralization?
Yeah.
Or will he be more hands-on, maybe bring in his own team,
Right.
implement new processes?
It's a tough balance.
It's a tough balance.
Too much oversight and you stifle innovation.
Right.
Too little and you do chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of the annual meetings,
Oh, yeah.
which have become legendary events.
Like a pilgrimage?
Exactly. They draw thousands of investors from all over the world.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about the financial updates.
Right.
It's about experiencing that folksy, down-to-earth atmosphere
Yeah.
that Warren has cultivated.
Right. Will Howie be able to maintain that same
Right.
level of charm and accessibility?
Or will the meetings become more formal, more corporate?
So we've got potential changes to the structure,
Mm-hmm.
the leadership style,
Mm-hmm.
even those, iconic annual meetings.
It's a lot to absorb.
Yeah, it's a lot to absorb.
But remember, change isn't inherently good or bad.
Okay.
It's simply inevitable.
True.
The key is to be aware of the potential impacts and adjust your expectations accordingly.
That's a good point. And speaking of adjustments, let's go back to the market for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that investors shouldn't panic just because Warren Buffett is stepping back.
Right.
But are there any practical steps
Sure.
that they can take to navigate this transition?
Well, first and foremost, stay informed.
Okay.
Don't rely on rumors or speculation. Follow Berkshire Hathaway's official communications. Pay attention to what analysts are saying.
So don't just read the headlines.
Do your own research.
Do your own research.
And second, remember that investing is a long game.
Right.
Berkshire Hathaway has a long and impressive track record of success. Don't make any impulsive decisions based on short-term market fluctuations.
It's like that old saying, time in the market beats timing the market.
Exactly. Stay patient. Stay focused on your long-term goals and don't let the noise distract you.
Solid advice.
Mm-hmm.
And, all this talk about Berkshire Hathaway's future
Mm-hmm.
has got me thinking about Howie's journey as a leader.
Okay.
I mean, he's stepping into some pretty big shoes. There's bound to be a lot of scrutiny,
Right.
a lot of pressure. What do you think are going to be like the biggest challenges?
Well, we've already talked about the challenge of living up to his father's legacy.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think one of the biggest hurdles for Howie will be establishing his own authority and credibility within Berkshire Hathaway.
So gaining the trust and respect of like the managers, the employees, the investors.
Precisely. He'll need to demonstrate that he has the knowledge, the skills, and the vision to lead Berkshire into the future. And that's not going to happen overnight.
It's like taking the helm of a giant ship.
Right.
It takes time to learn the ropes,
Exactly.
build relationships, earn the confidence of the crew.
And then to add another layer of complexity, there's the question of managing relationships with the board of directors.
All right. Yeah.
So they've been incredibly loyal to Warren over the years.
Yeah.
But how will they respond to Howie's leadership?
Yeah.
Will they support his decisions? Will they challenge him?
It sounds like there's a lot of like...
It's a delicate dance.
Yeah, delicate dance.
It's a lot of navigating different personalities and perspectives.
And that's where Howie's communication skills will be put to the test.
Absolutely.
He'll need to be clear, concise, and transparent.
And he'll need to listen carefully to feedback.
Right.
And be willing to adjust course as needed.
It's a lot to juggle, but... amidst all the challenges and uncertainties, there's also a sense of opportunity here.
There is.
Howie has the chance to make his own mark on Berkshire Hathaway, to build on his father's legacy while also charting a new course for the company.
I agree, and that's what makes this transition so fascinating to observe.
It's a story of legacy evolution and the enduring power of human ingenuity.
Absolutely.
I love it. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what lessons we can learn from this whole saga.
Sure.
What are the key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own lives, their careers?
That's a great question, and I think there are some profound lessons here about leadership, about change, and the importance of staying true to your values.
Can't wait to hear more about that. But before we get there, I have one more thought I want to explore. We've talked a lot about the potential impact of this transition on Berkshire Hathaway and its investors.
Right.
But what about the broader impact on the world of business and finance?
That's a great point because Berkshire Hathaway is a global powerhouse.
Yeah.
Their decisions have ripple effects far beyond Omaha, Nebraska.
So what are you thinking?
Well, I think one of the most significant impacts of this transition could be on the way we think about investing and corporate governance.
How so?
Well, Warren Buffett has always been a vocal advocate for long-term value creation, ethical business practices, and shareholder rights.
He's like the gold standard of ethical investing.
So the question is, will Howie continue to uphold those same principles?
Right.
Or will he take Berkshire Hathaway in a different direction?
Interesting.
The answer to that question could have far-reaching consequences for the way businesses are run.
Wow.
The way investors make decisions, and even the way we think about capitalism itself.
It's like we're at a crossroads.
We are.
And the path that Howie chooses could shape the landscape for years to come.
And that's why it's so important for us to pay attention to ask critical questions and to engage in these thoughtful discussions about the future of business and investing.
Right.
This isn't just about one company or one leader. It's about the values and principles that guide our economic system.
Those are some big ideas to ponder.
They are.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head. This isn't just a business story.
Right.
It's a story about the values that shape our world.
Exactly. And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, let's keep those values in mind as we explore the key takeaways and actionable insights from this fascinating transition.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our Berkshire Hathaway deep dive.
Her final part.
The final part, and I don't know about you, but my head's still spinning a little bit.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in. It's more complicated than I think.
It is.
A lot of people might have thought at first glance.
Yeah, it's not just a simple, changing of the guard.
Right.
It's like we peeled back the layers of an onion and found more questions, more twists and turns.
And that's what makes it so interesting.
Exactly.
But I think it's time to distill it all down to some key takeaways for our listeners.
Yeah. What are the big picture lessons here?
Well, I think the most important one is that change is rarely simple. Especially when you're dealing with an institution like Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
You've got all these interconnected factors, market reactions, leadership dynamics, cultural shifts.
It's like a whole...
It's like an ecosystem responding to a change in its environment.
And I think that analogy also highlights the fact that
Yeah.
there is no, like, easy answer,
No.
no single prediction for what's going to happen.
There are just too many variables.
Right. It's about understanding the complexities and being prepared for
Right.
a range of possibilities.
Exactly. And that leads us to another really important takeaway.
Okay.
The importance of informed observation.
So you're talking about watching for those clues, analyzing the decisions Howie makes,
Precisely.
paying attention to how Berkshire communicates,
All of them.
right? And this isn't about just being passive observers.
No.
It's about actively engaging
Yeah.
with the information. It's about becoming your own analyst.
Like a mini Warren Buffett.
All right.
I love that.
Developing your own insights.
Okay, so we've got to embrace the complexity,
Yes.
become these informed observers. And what was the other thing you said?
And don't forget the emotional element.
Right, the emotional piece.
Staying calm amidst the market fluctuations.
Yeah, because there are going to be fluctuations.
There will be.
It's inevitable.
Right. Focus on the long term.
Don't react to the short-term noise.
Exactly.
Solid advice all around.
Yeah.
But are there any actions
Sure.
our listener can take right now based on what we've learned?
Well, if you're a Berkshire Hathaway shareholder,
Okay.
this might be a good time to revisit your investment strategy.
Okay.
Do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the potential risks and opportunities associated with this transition.
Yeah.
And adjust your portfolio accordingly.
So don't make any rash decisions based on fear or speculation.
Don't panic.
Okay.
Stay informed.
Got it.
And think long term.
Okay.
And even if you're not a shareholder, this whole saga offers valuable lessons for navigating change.
Wow.
Think about the challenges Howie's facing,
Yeah.
leading in the shadow of a legend,
Mm-hmm.
balancing legacy with innovation,
Right.
establishing his own authority.
These are things that apply to everybody, no matter what field you're in.
These are universal challenges.
That's like a master class in leadership unfolding.
in real time.
Yeah.
And we all have a front row seat.
I like that. And I think we have to touch on that broader context as well.
Right.
You know, those potential ripple effects
Yeah.
of Howie's decisions.
On corporate governance, ethical investing.
It's a big deal.
It's a reminder that business decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They have real-world consequences
Right.
that extend far beyond just the bottom line.
It's not just about making money.
No.
It's about values.
Values, principles.
Okay, so we went from dissecting the news
Yeah.
to understanding the market implications to pondering the broader societal impact.
This has been a true deep dive.
This has been a deep dive.
And as we conclude, I want to leave you with that final thought-provoking question.
Hit me.
If you were advising Howie Buffett right now, what would be your top piece of advice
Ooh.
as he steps into this monumental role?
Okay, so deep divers. Think about that.
What would you say to Howie?
What insights would you share?
What warnings might you offer
What do you think he needs to know?
as he navigates this uncharted territory?
Yeah, it's a big question
It is.
to ponder.
It is.
But on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive
Okay.
into Howie Buffett and the future of Berkshire Hathaway.
A lot to think about.
A lot to think about. We covered a lot of ground from the specific details to the bigger picture implications.
And remember, and now
The story's not over.
it's your turn. Keep your eyes peeled, stay curious, and keep asking those tough questions.
This is just the beginning of a new chapter.
Until next time, deep divers, happy diving.